And our very own Wayne Madsen is on the Hill, right outside the Hill in D.C. He's just been at the National Press Club. And he was there covering the historic presentation by current Senator Rand Paul, former Senator Graham, 9/11 Commissioner, and others who have seen the secret 28 pages and what it entails. Walter Jones, the congressman from North Carolina, was also there, frequent guest on this transmission. So joining us is Wayne Madsen to break all of this down. I tell you, Wayne, it's obviously very dangerous what Senator Paul's doing. He's a leader. He's a doctor. He's a family man. He's showing he's bold on the Constitution and Bill of Rights. He's showing that he's nonpartisan when it comes to defending our republic. He's the only senator to actually get up and try to shoot down the Patriot Act and put himself right in the face of the globalist so-called juggernaut. This is true leadership. This is true Americana. And if we don't support this as a people, if we don't admire this, if we don't see this as heroic in the face of incredible tyranny, then we can't get mad at politicians who become statesmen down the road for not doing something. They're blackmailed. They're harassed. They're targeted by the media. They go through all sorts of dirty tricks. You got to be super clean to be able to do what he's doing. And he has really gone up a notch, in my view, from me liking him, trusting him, admiring him, not liking some of the politics he's played, but still knowing he's the best real politician out there in the polls who is a statesman that could beat Hillary Clinton. And he's not a warmonger. He wants to cut off foreign aid. But I tell you, I think he's in real danger now. They're trying to politically assassinate him. I want to get your take on that. But first, you were there for the presentation. We don't have filters here and just have to read what Politico says. Wayne Madsen, former NSA officer, award-winning investigative journalist, best-selling author, WayneMadsenReport.com, who broke the Hastert pedo ring news back in 2006 on this broadcast and at WayneMadsenReport.com, joins us now. Wayne Madsen, thank you.
Yes, Alex, thanks. Well, the press conference was at 10 o'clock today, the Senate Congressional Visitors Center, and Senator Paul led off the press conference announcing his support for a Senate bill to basically urge the president to declassify the 28 pages from the Joint Congressional Report of 2002 on the failures of 9/11. And joining Senator Paul were former Senator Bob Graham from Florida, who was the actual chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, who has, of course, read those 28 pages, was the last final chop authority on those 28 pages with the rest of the report. And he urged, and he has been urging the White House. I know he's visited the White House and urged them to declassify the pages. Senator Paul announced that he has two co-sponsors for this Senate bill that would declassify the 28 pages, and they are Senator Ron Wyden, Democrat of Oregon, and Senator Kirsten Gillibrand, I should say, of New York. And he said if he's also planning on attaching this bill as an amendment to the Defense Authorization Act next week. So
incredible.
There are two avenues to get this through. On the House side, we had Representative Jones, Representative Lynch, and Representative Massey speak. What we heard from both Senator Paul and the congressman from the House side are that they have resistance from the bipartisan leadership in both houses on getting this through. They have very few co-sponsors, and it's quite clear that the leadership, and that's Mitch McConnell in the Senate and John Boehner, the House Speaker, and various chairmen of various committees are just trying their darndest to block this effort. And Senator Paul made an interesting comment during his presentation. He said that the Saudi government has expressed support for releasing the 28 pages. So I asked him a question at the press conference, who in the Saudi government would be in favor of that, because the present King Salman was the governor of Riyadh province before 9/11, and I understand from talking to Saudi opposition forces, and these are democratic opposition forces, that several al-Qaeda members passed through Riyadh when Salman was governor of Riyadh on their way to Pakistan and Afghanistan, and they were given logistical support, cash, and a whole lot of support by the present King of Saudi Arabia.
Yeah, that sounds like in a movie when the guy has a dead body in this trunk and he says, sure, search my car, just trying to play a confidence game. We know from different folks we've had on, like Springman and others, from the visa section in Jeddah, that they were basically ordered by the CIA to let the 15 of the 19 hijackers in, even though they were flagged as terrorists. But when I get excited about Rand Paul, it's for this reason. He comes out, he points out that they've lied to us about spying on us. He points out it's not been used to stop terror. He points out that we've been helping fund ISIS. He brings up the fact that, hey, Saudi Arabia was allowed in 9/11. Don't claim I'm against national security. Release the information. He really seems to be in their face right now. A lot of politicians are saying, we don't like your strategy. You're not playing it safe. You know, you're going to lose now for doing this. It doesn't matter. He's doing the right thing. And it shows how alien that is to the mindset in Washington. What do you make of what Rand Paul's doing and taking a leadership role in this?
Well, he had, you know, I've covered the politics here for a while, and to hear a Democrat like Bob Graham, former governor of Florida and longtime Democratic senator, was the chairman of the Senate Intelligence Committee, was actually thanking and praising Rand Paul for his efforts, as were the members from the House side, including Democratic Congressman Stephen Lynch from Massachusetts.
I mean, it smells and looks like old-fashioned statesmanship and actually trying to have a free country.
Yeah, I was somewhat surprised to see a spirit of bipartisanship at that press conference today. I should also add that there was a Republican Virginia state senator in the audience, and he has also proposed a resolution urging the 28 pages. You know, that's just a sense of that would be a sense of the Virginia Senate. They don't have any authority over that type of thing, but he's introduced a similar resolution in the Virginia Senate.
Well, I happen to know Rand Paul for 20 years, and I can tell folks he's the real deal. They're coming after him more than anybody. I think that for anybody who's smart, folks should know he's then the man to nominate out of the Republican field. The First Lady from there on the East Coast, Miss Lindsey Graham, has come out, though, demonizing him, saying he'd be a horrible choice for a Republican nominee. But the word is that Lindsey Graham might be getting ready to run.
Well, he has, I think, his announcement, I think, is either he's done it this week or he's planning to do it this week. And, yeah, there's, I would urge some of his opponents to just send people to Columbia, South Carolina. I've heard about him in South Carolina from a well-known journalist for the state newspaper, and that is the record. That's the paper of record in South Carolina, covers state politics in the state capital. So these people are well aware of Miss South Carolina's past, shall we say, exploits in the state.
So he's fully compromised. I mean, if he comes out of the closet, then he wouldn't be as dangerous. We're not attacking him because he's gay. We're attacking him because they can blackmail him with the information.
And he's a hypocrite because he has sponsored a lot of anti-gay legislation. But the major thing is, if he does come out, he's of course not going to be not only will he not be elected president or get the Republican nomination, he probably won't win a seat again if he runs for re-election from South Carolina. So this is the dilemma that he faces because of his total hypocrisy.
Well, I mean, he thinks he's going to attack Rand Paul, and we're not going to attack him right back. He's got another thing coming. We're committed to this fight. We know he's a dangerous person. We know he represents a dangerous mafia. And yes, everybody should recognize we have huevos the size of, bowling balls. to even be talking about these issues, but it's time it all comes down. It's time the House of Cards comes down. It's time that all of them, Boehner, all of them that are compromised. I know you've studied Boehner, and I know he's tied in with Hastert and the rest of that jolly crowd. What's the dirt they've got on Boehner? I mean, when he's doing stuff that's 87% unpopular, like TPP with his crew, with his state constituency, I mean, they got to have something big on old Boehner. I know he famously handed out tobacco company checks on the floor of the House in the 90s that was illegal, basically, and then claimed it was legal. But, I mean, what else do they have on this guy, the Speaker of the House?
Well, I don't want to talk about his drinking because we've had very successful members of Congress in the past who were also alcoholics. So you can't use that. That can't be used as any sort of negative when you talk about the past. And many of these were, they may have been drunks, but they were also statesmen. We talk about former House Speaker Carl Albert and Senate Minority Leader Everett Dirks and then Senate Majority Leader Mike Mansfield. Now, some of them, of course, were in Alcoholics Anonymous, but they got the job done. So, yes, of course, Boehner is known as pretty much a lush,
a fish.
He's they call him Mr. Merlot. He likes his red wine, and but I think when you talk about Boehner, you got to talk about the lobbying. Apparently, there was talk about him having an extramarital affair with a top lobbyist some years ago. So, yes, there is a taint of scandal there, but and I really think that Boehner did not want to serve another term in Congress. Apparently, he's been promised some big job. He wants to move to Florida. He bought a big house in Florida, so clearly he's looking at retirement.
He wants to cash in on the looting of America.
Yeah, and so he can buy the best Merlot after he's retired.
And play golf all day. So it sounds like his greatest crime then in the club is he's not a pedophile, because it seems like you got to be a pedophile to be up at the top these days.
Right. I think he's very useful to some people, but I think he's a rather aloof speaker. We have to really look at his staff, senior staff members, and that would be as speaker. He has his own staff as speaker. They're separate from his staff where he represents his district in Ohio. And also you got to look at some of the committee chairs that he's appointed to these top committees. So I think the problem with Boehner is his relative aloofness and from the day-to-day matters, and but I'm not going to hold the drinking against him, because, as I say, we've had in the past.
Well, we'd be hypocrites then too. So let's just get real.
Yeah, right, exactly, and but I really want to say that in answer to my question, Senator Paul said, when I asked him, I said, who specifically in the Saudi government, because of the and I think King Salman, as Governor Riyadh, his name is all over the 28 pages. And he said he'd have to get that information. He couldn't recall who that official was. But the word I got today was that the reason this bill has been totally unsuccessful in getting more Senate support is because the Bush family is putting direct pressure on Mitch McConnell. And we know that, he's the other senator from Kentucky, and ostensibly, Rand Paul and McConnell, they have a sort of a mutual supportive relationship politically, and both Republicans from the same state. But that the Bush family and the oil companies and the Saudi lobbyists and the Saudi embassy here is really putting a full court press on making sure.
Sure. Well, for those that don't know, you broke it at the time. It was then in the Miami Herald. It was in the London Guardian. The Bushes were at a Carlyle Group contractor breakfast that morning in D.C. at the bin Laden table. George Herbert Walker Bush, Bush 41, was there eating with them when the attacks took place. They were allowed to all fly out of the country when air traffic was grounded. So They don't want this whole Bush-Saudi connection being opened up. And I think, knowing Rand Paul, in his speech, that was a little bit of a backhanded, he's probably been threatened by the Saudis. That was a backhanded threat, probably, that, and I know you want this released. Right. You really want us to serve a search warrant on you. It's kind of I think it was more of a snarky remark.
Right. It could have been. I mean, he also said he's talked about the bipartisan support from